Welcome new employees. We will be discussing the life cycle of a claim or claims during the new hire process. It's important to understand the process in order to do your job efficiently and effectively. So let's get started by understanding what exactly a life cycle claim is. It's vital to know that a claim goes through several processes before it becomes eligible for payment. So the steps that are listed is the process of a claim life cycle. It includes patient registration, establish financial responsibility, patient check-in and check-out, super bill or an encounter form, preparing and transmitting the claim, monitoring payer adjudication, generating patient statement, and last, following up payments and collections. Patient care, in my opinion, always start when a patient calls to set up an appointment. But before we can get that patient scheduled, we must pre-register the new patient first. So what is pre-registration? It involves collecting information from the patient that is relevant to establishing patient care before an appointment can be made. Some of the information to collect includes demographics, clinical data, insurance information, payments, and consents. Once the information has been entered into the database, then we go to the next process, which is establishing financial responsibility. That means collecting the patient's method of payment, such as insurance information, or if they're going to self pay, meaning that they're contributing 100% of payment with services rendered. If they have insurance, it's important to get a copy of their insurance cards and the insured party's name, date of birth, if different from the patient. The next step will be to contact the insurance provider to verify coverage and to see if insurance is currently active. The next step is important because this involves if monies are to be collected. You want to see, if applicable, the deductible amount has been met. If the deductible has not been met, the insurance company will not pay any part of the claim, so then it will be the patient's responsibility to pay the provider. Then, if there is a copay, the patient will then have to pay that amount owed. We will then check the patient's coinsurance amount, which is the percentage of costs that the patient pays for medical services rendered, such as office visits or hospital stays. So a prime example is the popular 80/20 coinsurance plan, where the insurer pays 80% of medical services and the insured pays the remaining 20%. Well, what if the patient's deductible and maximum out-of-pocket has been met? The maximum out-of-pocket is the total amount a patient pays before the insurance plan will pay. If this is the case, then the insurance company will pay for all future covered benefits. Next, we're going to talk about the process of checking in and checking out. Of course, the first point of contact with patients start at the front desk, so we always want to be pleasant with a smile. It's important to remember that we value patients' business and we want them to keep coming back. When a patient checks in, the medical office personnel will collect any additional paperwork as well as getting a copy of their identification and insurance cards to be scanned into the database. Also, they will collect copays in the beginning or end of being seen by the provider. When it's time for the patient to check out, the patient will then check out at the front desk to schedule a follow-up appointment. Before the patient leaves, make sure you give them the printed aftercare summary paperwork if you happen to work at the front desk. The front desk personnel should always give them the aftercare paperwork. If the patient needs a referral or authorization for additional services, this information will be given to the RN or MA who are responsible for completing these requests. The next process is the encounter form or super bill. This is used by medical professionals that shows services given to the patient. It's important that the super bill be filled out correctly and accurately because this starts the creation of the claim being submitted to the insurance plan for processing. CPT and ICD-10 CM codes must be matched by the medical practices that creates a superbill. This is an example of a superbill. If you look closely, we see where the patient's information goes, as well as their date of birth, date of service, the CPT codes and ICD codes, and the physician's information. The physician will select the services rendered. Next, we're going to talk about preparing and transmitting the claim, as well as monitoring payer adjudication. So a claim is a comprehensive pooling of all data relating to a patient for a particular treatment, and all registration, charges, and provider information is contained in this form, which is sent to the insurance carrier for processing. This list of information needs to be filled out correctly and accurately to prevent denial of a claim. The claims information provides patient's name, patient's medical record number, patient's account number, patient's demographic information, subscriber information such as the insured member or policyholder, subscriber number, the group or plan number, secondary insurance information if applicable, prior authorization or referral number, rendering service provider name, the rendering service provider national provider identifier known as the NPI, dates of service, diagnosis codes, procedure codes, revenue code, itemized charges for services rendered, and the number of services or units for service provided. The medical biller then reviews the information which is submitted by the medical coder. Once the biller verifies all the proper information and the information that is present, the biller will then transmit the claim to a clearinghouse or directly to the insurance provider for processing. A clearinghouse is a third party that scrubs an insurance claim to ensure that all information is present before transmitting directly to the proper insurance provider. So the clearinghouse then helps out the medical billers if there's an error in the claim submission. The clearinghouse performs edit checks which are more or less equal to the carrier requirements and has numerous carriers registered under it for forwarding claims electronically. So we're almost done. I know it seems like a lot, but it's vital to make sure that everything is submitted for processing. The next process is generating patient statements. Statements are sent out monthly on the same day. Before sending out patient statements, it's important to separate the age of accounts receivable for patients. For example, 30, 60, 90, and 120 days. Accounts receivable, or AR, simply means owed balance of money due to a company for services rendered but not paid by the consumers. This is a sample patient statement. You can see all of the patient's information, such as their name and address. You can see also the sample practice address information and phone number. To the right, you can see how much the patient owes, which is $0, and the portion that the patient that the insurance pays, which is $527. Also underneath, you can see the 30 to 120 days age AR, which the patient doesn't owe anything or isn't behind. Then we see the transaction where the patient can see everything where services was rendered. So we see the service date, provider, the claim number, the services rendered, the charges, credits such as where the patient made a payment, the line of balance after the credit was applied, and then any patient credit that is applied to the account. Again, patients need to see their statements so they can make sure they wasn't charged for services never given, or they might need it for tax purposes. We always make sure they have their statements each month. Finally, we're going to discuss the final process, which is following up payments and collections. So, of course, we want to make sure we collect all payments or copays when patients check in or check out. Nevertheless, you have those who don't pay up. So, what happens after that? Well, once a patient hasn't received payments 60 days past due, the 90-day final notice, then the remaining balance then goes to collections. And just for FYI, patients are given plenty of time to talk with office administration prior when receiving these warning statements. They can set up a payment arrangement to lessen the burden financially. Not doing anything about past debt will be sent to collection and it can affect their credit. So, what if the patient decides that, hey, I want to pay my debt? Do they pay at the office? No. Once the medical practice turned over the account to the collections agency, they will have to make a payment agreement or settlement with that particular collection agency, and the office must follow the rules of that agency. Also, the patient account at that practice will be closed. All right, so everyone, we are finished. Everyone knows how to process a claim and knows the claim of a life cycle. So if there are any questions or thoughts, I'll be happy to guide you in the right steps. No one will be left in the dark. We all are a team. If there's nothing else, I hope that everyone has a great day.